Hello, loves, and welcome back to Your Hero's Quest. I'm your host, Carly, and today we're going into part 2 of the philosophy of love and how that has come up through the ages. So if you haven't watched part 1, you can go ahead and do that. It was all about Eros and love in Greek mythology. Today we're fast forwarding and we're going to continue our journey on this divine love through courtly love, the medieval period, and literature from that time. So with Eros, we talked about how it's both a god, Cupid, the son of Venus and Mars, as well as this way of living, this passion for life and for being within the experience of life. It also is present in relationships and being able to see the other person fully to their soul and past their physical beauty. And we also talked about how Plato's idea of Eros is really more of a vehicle, and that the highest principle is beauty, and this absolute beauty that inspires people to reach for the divine. So let's fast forward from ancient Greece to the High Middle Ages and this phenomenon that became known as courtly love. So this began with the troubadours of southern France at the end of the 11th century. They started writing this poetry infused with Eros and bringing it around to different courts. And now Eleanor of Aquitaine was the granddaughter of the first troubadour, and she became Queen of France and introduced northern France to this courtly culture and this courtly love. She was one of the most important literary patrons of the 12th century. Not only did she have the castle of Paris remodeled to be way more cozy and aesthetic and beautiful, but she also brought these traditions of this super high ideal of love that got played out in the court. This courtly tradition is furthered by the popular Arthurian romances and tales that are being written at this time. Chrétien de Troyes, who wrote the first Grail stories and these first romances, was at these courts. Her daughter Marie de Champagne commissioned the first work that was about the love triangle between Arthur, Lancelot, and Guinevere. So the literature was both inspired by this troubadour tradition, and then the courts were inspired by the literature to literally live it out, like how we want to live out Harry Potter at Universal Studios and claim our house and get a wand and pretend we're in it. They were literally living this chivalric code that was so present in the Arthurian romances. King Arthur is the symbol of the perfect expression of a world of chivalry and the perfect courtly behavior that Eleanor promotes in her courts by her troubadours. The basic rules of this courtly behavior are that a knight must behave honorably at all times, respect the right of the individual, and uphold these rights when necessary. Chivalry was a religious, moral, and social code. And chivalry included courage, prowess as a warrior, honor, loyalty, justice, good manners, and generosity, especially to those less fortunate than oneself. And the earliest forms of chivalry also had the knights swear an oath to defend the church and the defenseless. This whole idea and code evolved from this late 11th century, and by the 14th century had become much more romanticized and idealized, largely due to this literature. And it inspired medieval noblemen towards this honor and purity, especially once the Grail quest got infused into the Arthurian romances, that only the truly good could find the Grail. People were actually inspired to be better. Although the courtly love started in France, it spread across cultures and literatures of most of Western Europe and spans centuries. Now, courtly love in itself is sort of this really interesting thing, this conventionalized code that outlined the behavior of ladies and their lovers. The lady is always the highest ideal above her man, and the courtly lover existed to serve his lady. He pledged his heart to her and to be true to her forever. One author says that it's a type of sensual love that causes the lover to progress in natural goodness, merit, and worth. Because the beloved is superior, love of such an exalted person or object lifts and raises the lover in virtue. So it's kind of also like that absolute beauty principle in ancient Greek philosophy that inspires the person to be better and to be brought in sort of this divine presence. Now, here's where courtly love is a little bit messed up because it calls for adultery. The lovers of these courts found that this love could only be present with someone that you couldn't quite have. That part of this courtly love is this yearning desire that doesn't get appeased physically. It's never fully consummated because, according to it, once it is, that desire decreases or vanishes altogether. It's this desire that's a means to an end that ennobles the lover. And although it is sensual, where they would exchange impassioned embraces and kisses and sneak off into a corner or exchange glances as they walked by, it's also spiritual because it seeks a union of hearts and mind and not just bodies. It's a most virtuous love. This totally relates to Eros, which is that yearning to know God and commune with the divine. And so with courtly love, you can do that through the beloved. Again, marriages at this time were largely arranged and for political purposes or money or advancement of status. So this courtly love sort of gave people an outlet to actually experience this passionate and noble love. This book, The Art of Courtly Love, was written by Andre the Chaplain at the request of the Countess Marie, the daughter of Eleanor of Aquitaine, and she carried on much of her mother's legacy, also bringing this courtly love to her court. And this book is believed to have been intended to portray conditions at Queen Eleanor's court between 1170 and 1174. It reflects the thought of this great epoch and the secret of this civilization. Basically, he relates all these conversations between different kinds of individuals, like a nobleman with a lesser class woman with a high noble woman, or people of the same nobility. But ultimately, it's this dedication to the God of love, the King of love, that all these people are serving. And they even refer to relationship and love as entering Venus's court and doing Venus's work. So that idea of Eros is still very much infused in the culture, from ancient Greece all the way up till this time. In one of the conversations, a lady basically renounces love. She tells the lover that's coming to her, saying he thinks the world of her, that she's like, that's great, thanks so much, but I'm good. I don't even enter Venus's realm because I just know that it will lead to heartache and heartbreak, so I avoid it altogether. And he tells her basically, this is the biggest sin that you could ever commit, is to deny love and to not experience love. He relates this vision that this nobleman had when he was riding in the forest with a bunch of knights. He loses them and goes to find his horse who has wandered off in the forest, and he comes across this band of other people. He's like, who are you guys? And this woman says, oh, this is an army of the dead and led by the King of Love. And there's different tiers in this procession. There's people that are perfectly adorned and every whim and need is met. They're on gorgeous horses. And then towards the back, these people are in this endless suffering. They're dirty. They have rags on and they have really bad horses. And it's because those people in the back renounced love in their lifetime. So they're now serving this hell forever. The King of Love is you gotta love in your lifetime. That's the best thing you can do. Even if it goes wrong, you gave it a shot. So the woman that he's speaking to says, so now we suffer these well-deserved punishments and receive from the King of Love, through whom the whole world is ruled, and without whom no one does anything good in this world, payment appropriate to our sins. So they're saying that literally love is the end-all be-all in life, which of course it is. The King of Love then reveals the 12 chief rules in love that must be followed. If you're enjoying this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. 1. Thou shalt avoid avarice like the deadly pestilence, and shalt embrace its opposite. 2. Thou shalt keep thyself chaste for the sake of her whom thou lovest. 3. Thou shalt not knowingly strike to break up a correct love affair that someone else is engaged in. 4. Thou shalt not choose for thy love anyone whom a natural sense of shame forbids thee to marry. 5. Be mindful completely to avoid falsehood. 6. Thou shalt not have many who know of thy love affair. That was part of the courtly love. It had to be in secret. 7. Being obedient in all things to the command of ladies, thou shalt ever strive to ally thyself to the service of love. 8. In giving and receiving love's solaces, let modesty be ever present. 9. Thou shalt speak no evil. 10. Thou shalt not be a revealer of love affairs. 11. Thou shalt be in all things polite and courteous. And 12. In practicing the solaces of love, thou shalt not exceed the desires of thy lover. I think those are pretty good rules to follow, some of them a little bit outdated. And of course, although this idea of courtly love as it existed in these actual royal courts is, not really relevant to our modern day society, some aspects of it do linger in our present day attitude towards romance. And in fact, this book was so funny because love and relationships, it was written almost 1,000 years ago, and there's so many things in it that are the same. It talks about, not just hooking up for the sake of pleasure, and that it cheapens love, and to not really get involved with people that do that, that really people's noble character makes them beautiful, and that that's what we should seek for in someone, and that their physical beauty isn't the end all be all. So it was really interesting. It's like this, especially in modern day society with, dating apps and this hookup culture we have, these problems have been going on forever. Pierre Vidal, who was a 12th century troubadour, said, "One ought not to put off speaking well and doing better as long as life is present, for this world is nothing else than wind, and who trusts in it the most plays the fool the more. For when death comes, one can verify how little gold avails the rich. Therefore, he is a fool who does not correct himself, and who does not conduct himself with courtliness." That is certainly a virtue we can continue to live by. And it's through the lover that you choose, the noble lover, that will raise you in virtue. The origin of this courtly love may be found in Ovid's works, such as The Art of Love, which was written in year 2. Now, Dante, who wrote the Divine Comedy and was this illustrious writer and poet and lover himself, who wrote in the 13th century, is carrying on these ideas of courtly love and sees love as this ennobling passion, but that is chivalric and courtly. Love is a constant theme in his work Vita Nuova and Paradiso, and it appears in all forms: human and divine, personal and cosmological, natural and supernatural. In Paradiso, the beloved, the divine feminine goddess, raises Dante through love and beauty to the realms of heaven. And Dante says, love is the spiritual union of the soul and the loved thing. Where Plato and Socrates said that love is a vehicle to absolute beauty, Dante says the soul is of divine origin and seeks to strengthen its own existence by union with God. That divine excellences are found in nature, and that the power of love is more intense as these divine excellences appear more beautiful. He also sees beauty as this highest principle and the vehicle to both love and the divine. There's this ladder through these excellences, which are basically objects, nature, people. And the higher the beauty of the object, the closer you get to God by convening with it. And he even says that whatever one loves on this ladder shows what kind of person they are. So to Dante, Beatrice is his great earthly love, and after she passes away, guides him into spirituality as well. She reflects this divine love and light. She's very high up on this ladder. Her beauty is so great that the mind can't translate it. And the intensity of this beauty equals the intensity of love. She basically personifies the best person possible with the soul of perfect virtue and highest physical beauty. And this inner beauty of the soul translates to the external beauty, and thus a revelation in the manifestation of the beauty of God. So again, it's this physical beauty that leads to desires, but at the core, it's not sensual, but a desire for absolute beauty that lies in all things, which is the reality of the truth of God. In another one of his works, he refers to her as Lady Philosophy. She's a preview of heavenly bliss, that her eyes and smile are divine lures and emanate the universal principle of love. The smile translates inner light, and the eyes, the joy of paradise. This is so true, right? Eyes are the windows to the soul, and a smile really does emanate light from someone. And again, this perfect or absolute beauty cannot be defined or comprehended intellectually. It has to be experienced. And by experiencing it, you grow closer to a communion with God. So ultimately, Dante fuses this courtly love with this mystical vision, as Beatrice was his beloved on earth and his spiritual guide after death. In this tradition, lust is the counterfeit of love. Yes, beauty inspires these passions, but it ennobles the passion to the realm of the divine and really the real union of partners through heart and mind and noble character rather than just physical passion. And again, another funny thing about the courtly love is he says that when love is consummated, it can be increased through jealousy. That jealousy almost must be present for this love to be real. The advice is a little bit off. So it's a mix of seeing what these people really literally lived by and what they thought of relationship. But in the end, saying that we all must be in love's service. And it's this ennobling thing. And if we don't enter into Venus's courts while we're alive, then we will be punished for all eternity. One can find nothing in the world more desirable than love, since from it comes the doing of every good thing, and without it, no one would do anything good in the world. And of course, that is so very true. Love is indeed the highest vibration. Love pervades all things. And even though it can lead us down some thorny paths or lead to heartache, taking a chance on love and experiencing love, even if it doesn't last forever, is almost the point of life and the best thing that we could ever do. Our soul's yearning for love maybe is a yearning for God, or it's a yearning to be better, but love inspires that. And although this medieval tradition of courtly love or the chivalric love of the Arthurian romances seems like an epoch away because that was 1,000 years ago, the idea of love and the relationship of love, the seeking of love, the feeling of love is ever present. I mean, that's why these philosophers have been writing about it since the dawn of time. And were those lovers at the court sought only the love in another, maybe to mirror that love or right seeking the divine love? I love that the present day really focuses a lot on self-love, and that self-love is the vehicle because it connects you to the divine within you. It's that spiritual fire of consciousness that's in our heart. Self-love is the love of creation, of life, and of existence. And I think that as a collective, as we move towards radical and unconditional self-love, that opens the channel for Eros's power of creation. It opens the light-filled paths to Venus's beauty, Mars's passion, and courtly romance. It opens the gates to the respect of chivalry and utter honor of courtly love. Love is the highest vibration of all. It connects, rises, and heals all hurts. It renews, it saves, it moves mountains, and causes miracles. It is the pervading force that holds all of nature together. It's the astonishing blue of the sky and breathtaking colors of the sunset. It's the sweet bird songs that bring us delight. It's the feeling of a warm fire on your toes as you're cozied up reading a book. It's your lover's kiss and your baby's laugh. It had the ability to launch 1,000 ships and has caused the downfalls of kingdoms. What else moves us but love? And even in the midst of the most broken heart, it is love that heals it. And it is love that will prevail over all dark that seeks to ever snuff out the light. So I hope you enjoyed this part 2 of our exploration of divine love and courtly love and Eros, and how people of all these different ages have thought about love, and how there's so many differences, but so many similarities. As always, let's close this episode with a card pull from the Hero's Journey Dream Oracle. Any further thoughts on Eros and divine love and courtly love that want to come through for us? We got Become the Elixir. Let your glow do the heavy lifting. The wonderful elixir of light is the thing that actually connects the immaterial with the material, that connects the cosmic to the plain everyday existence that we try to live in. Love, anyone? Honor the wisdom you've earned and learned while honoring the people in your circle of life by remembering that you are the elixir. Without having to say a word or do a single thing, you are the medicine, blessing, and presence that soothes the hearts, minds, and souls of all you meet. You are so steeped in the elixir that you do the work simply by being, beaming, and showing up. Mantra: the elixir encoded within me is now being contagiously transmitted. Wow, that is beautiful. Yes, you are the elixir, and your divine love and light absolutely is magnetic to all that you desire in life. And by beaming the presence of yourself, you're beaming love into the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Again, let me know in the comments what you think, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. Much love.